Okay, hey. So I was just doing a bunch of research. I got going on I looked up I looked up an eyeball. I was thinking about iris. Actually, I was thinking about sphincters and like the sphincter muscle of the eyeball. And I looked up sphincter, and then it had like different names of different sphincters, and I found one for the eyeball, and I'm like really interested in what I can see, and like I always relate like smaller things to bigger things, and I always saw like the eyeball and the fluid in the eye, which is crystalline fluid, to like the earth, and the earth also being an expression of a much larger structure of like an eyeball as well. So I looked up the sphincter for the eyeball muscle, and it said Iris, which made me think of Osiris, like OS and then Iris, right? And then and there's kind of a lot, and it's sort of random, but it was like I drew this picture right here, and it's like well, I mean it said Iris, but I wrote Osiris, and it was like this circle right here, and then in the middle it said pupil student, so it's like it kind of made me feel like me or anybody searching for the truth. It's like, they're sort of like in the middle of it all, and they're just kind of like looking around to see what they can find. And then I looked up this is so random as to how I even got here. Okay. Okay, well, you know what? I'm just gonna. Okay, so then I started just counting stuff, right? The way the picture went was like the capillaries and stuff inside the eyeball, and I didn't draw it here, but they look kind of like trees, and trees always attract me. So I wrote down the numbers of like the branches of the tree. It was kind of like, I mean, the capillaries, but it looks like a tree, and it was like, the trunk, and then it had like, like branches coming down. So I decided to count those, and I know it's just a picture, but it led me here. So there were like 4 here and 4 here, and then there was like 1 here and 1 here. So then I'm like looking up numbers, and I'm thinking about it, but then I was like too concentrated on it. So I just started writing stuff down that came into my head, and I looked at the like the HTTP, whatever the address is. Like I tried to save the picture, and like the name of the picture popped up, and the name of the picture was Gray 878, and which made me think of aliens, made me think of spiders, because 8s always remind me of spiders for some reason. And then I wrote down chakras because of the 7 in the middle, the 878. Anyways, and then I wrote down alignment, and then I wrote down interplanetary alignment. And then I saw Terry, because my name, like my family name is like Terry, even though my name is Theresa. And I took the Terry out of interplanetary, which is Tary, and I did a Google search on that, and I couldn't. The word like doesn't really actually exist in a dictionary except for the Urban Dictionary, so I looked that up, and then I found Terry is a large squid-like creature, or also known as a kraken, but like out of the water, it can take the shape of a human form, and okay, this is crazy. So then I looked up. Okay, so then I looked up, let me see here. Okay, so, so much stuff here. Okay, so then I looked up, I wrote down sphincter, but I wrote it down like sphinxter. Anyways, so then I looked up, the ink that comes out of a squid, and it's called cephalopod ink. And then I wrote down dark pigment released into the water. It's an escape mechanism. So then that brought me over to the ink and what the ink's called. And the ink is it's called melanin, Melanin, and it's the pigment that gives human skin. The pigment that gives human skin, hair, and eyes their color, right? Produced by cells called melanocytes. So I thought that was really interesting that actually brought me to something that creates the eye color. And the first thing I cued into was the pupil, because I was thinking black ink, right? But now I'm thinking like, okay, it gives their eyes their color. So really, it can be black ink or it can be any ink, because, I mean, if it gives their eyes their color, and even though the squids, they spit out black ink, then that like really intrigues me, because it can really be expressed as any color now that I think about it. And it said here, it underlies the irises of the eyes. So that's like a whole lot of connections that brought me here. So moving on. Melanocytes increase their production of melanin in response to sun exposure. Okay, now what really got me going about that was so what it's saying is that these melanocytes, right? They increase their production of melanin in response to sun exposure. Okay, so it's like if I relate the Earth, as a pupil, like as a pupil, as like a bigger structure of a smaller structure, and there's a lot of sun, then it's going to produce a lot of melanin, which is well, I referred to it as something like black as night, right? Because we see at night people's pupils get bigger. Animals, their pupils get bigger at night because there's less sun. I mean, of course, that makes sense. So I'm like, okay, if these two things are very similar, then it like makes it makes sense as to why we would see that expressed in this much larger body, as to why at night it would be super dark. So now thinking about it, the video that I just made, like I think it was the Stardust video I just made like 3 videos ago, and I was talking about how the sun, when the sun might have already burst and it's already sending us its starburst, its stardust, right? So it's almost like all this is happening to reveal something on the other side, is what I'm thinking. Because without the sun being so, because I wrote that down, I wrote down, without the concentrated rays of the sun, the melanin is reduced in the sky pupil. And what's really interesting about all this is that when I looked at the sun, when the sun was out, I would just stare at it, right? Because it's yellow at first, like a yellow-white at first. So when I'd stare at the sun, I'd see like a purple. I'd see a purple shade of purple like over the sun, like a very intense purple, like its complementary color, which is really interesting because when I looked at the moon at night, I would see like the concentrated purple start emanating from what I could see, and like the sky's actually purple. And also I've seen blue as well, like a purple blue when I looked at the sun. And when I talked about like being able to see black ink and stuff like that with the right sunlight, it looks like, like blue and red put together, but it kind of looks more like a blue purple. And so does my cat's fur, which I talk about in like a couple videos back. So it's like all this is really connecting here right now, because of course it's not just black, it's a lot of colors combined. It's like concentrated colors, If you were to like zoom in any color like white, that's also all the colors. It's like another expression of the like opposite spectrum or something like that. And so I wrote down, yeah, I mean, I know I'm jumping to conclusions, but when I think about all these, like, I literally just wanted to look up one item, and it took me, I just like followed whatever the heck my intuition was telling me, and it brought me to this moment. And I'm like, wow, it makes perfect science if this smaller system is also expressed in this much larger system. Which makes me think of Da Vinci, and I think that's really interesting that it happens that way. That I would think about the sun, expressing all of its stardust particles and reducing itself so that the melanin, or whatever it's called in a much larger body, is reduced so that other things can be revealed. Like maybe that's the whole process that happens on a much larger scale. So that's a lot. Yeah, so that's basically where I got. That's what I've got right now. It might be a little confusing at first. Sorry, it was a crazy road getting there, but it was only like 30 minutes, so. Anyways, yeah, so I guess we'll see what happens with that. Thanks for watching.